The crying was so loud and so amazing that it astounded people, unless they had heard it before, or else knew the reason for the cryings. And she had them so often that they made her very weak in her bodily strength, and especially if she heard of our Lord's passion. And sometimes when she saw the crucifix, or if she saw a man had a wound, or a beast, whichever it were, or if a man beat a child before her, or hit a horse or other beast with a whip, if she saw or heard it, she thought she saw our Lord being beaten or wounded. It was granted to this creature to behold so truly his precious tender body, all rent and torn with scourges, more full of wounds than a dovecot ever was of holes, hanging upon the cross with the crown of thorns upon his head, his blessed hands, his tender feet nailed to the hard wood, the rivers of blood flowing out plenteously from every limb, the grisly and grievous wound in his precious side, shedding out blood and water for her love and her salvation. Then she fell down and cried with a loud voice, twisting and turning her body amazingly on every side, spreading her arms out wide as if she would have died and could not keep herself from crying, and these physical movements because of the fire of love that burned so fervently in her soul with pure pity and compassion. And as soon as she perceived that she was going to cry, she would try to hold it in as much as she could so that people would not hear it and get annoyed. For some said it was a wicked spirit tormented her, some said it was an illness, some said she had drunk too much wine, some cursed her, some wished she was in the harbour, some wished she was on the sea in a bottomless boat. Some great clerk said Our Lady never cried so, nor any saint in heaven. But they knew very little what she felt.
Our Lady never cried, so why do you? They ask when my prayer had doused the fire, for joy of weeping on his passion abused, brooding on one's own woes does not aspire. Lynn is mass on mass, not Norwich church a block. We're one deafened parish, cheat by blessed howl. For thinking on Christ's precious wounds, how can I not? Which Dame Julian assured me will make the fiend yowl.
The Archbishop took his seat, and for so long she melted all into tears. And at last she cried out loudly, so that the Archbishop and his clerics and many people were all astonished at her, for they had not heard such crying before. When her crying was past, she came before the Archbishop and fell down on her knees, the Archbishop saying very roughly to her, "Why do you weep so, woman?" She answering said, "Sir, you shall wish some day that you had wept as sorely as I."
Afterwards she rode on an ass to Bethlehem, and when she came to the church and to the crib where our Lord was born, she had great devotion, much conversing in her soul, and high spiritual comfort, with much weeping and sobbing, so that her fellow pilgrims would not let her eat in their company. And so she ate her meals alone, by herself. And then the Grey Friars, who had led her from place to place, took her in with them, and seated her with them at meals, so that she should not eat alone. And one of the friars asked one of her party if that was the Englishwoman who they had heard tell spoke with God. And when this came to her knowledge, she knew that it was the truth that our Lord said to her before she left England, "Daughter, I shall make the whole world wonder at you, and many men and women shall speak of me for love of you, and honour me in you."
St. Margaret's is burning, but Jesus tells me, here in my mind, that all shall be well. Shall I carry the sacrament towards the fire? Asks our priest, say yes unto hell. St. Margaret's is burning, I'm urging the Lord. Here in my mind let the high heavens snow, to quench this fire and ease my heart's woe. A miracle, cries Lynn, till my tears flow. Out of my gender, out of my class, and out of my mind, out of my body, and leaving the age I was born to behind, where priests hurry mass to get back to their lust, by slanders and beer, fruit gorged by a bear, and discharged from its rear. Now I'm old and wounded, the Lord God tells me, here in my mind you must go to Danzig. I excuse his thought and lead you, for I am above your confessor, although he bans it. Who shall be against? The Lord God tells me, here in my mind, and a friar says it too, in storm and war, through slander and curse. Who shall be against if I am with you? Out of my gender, out of my class, and out of my mind, out of my body, and leaving the life I was born to behind, where priests hurry mass to get back to their lust, by slanders and beer, and my woman's words must be wasted in tears.